All right, sweet. So,
Well, that's nice and narrow. That's good.
how are things?
I think he's talking to you because he's been talking to me already, Anthony.
I'm talking to everybody. I don't really give a shit.
They're okay. It's raining.
I think today's the first day it
That's
has
about it.
been like a month. So, take
It is what it is. I'm fine with it when I'm inside. When I gotta go fucking out in it, it's like the end of the world.
Soon enough.
See, I'm the exact opposite. Is that the rainy stuff keeps happening while I'm at work, and so I'm pissed off because I leave and it stopped raining already, and I don't get to actually enjoy it. I'm totally morbid about the fact that I live in a place where it actually rains now, and I don't get any of it.
We've gotten
that's fair
record amounts of rain. It's stupid. I feel like
it's like that here. Well, me and my girlfriend does special effects makeup, and she did like this whole prosthetic piece for Halloween, and so she wanted to go out and take it, but she doesn't want to take it when it's fucking sunny outside. She wants to go out when it's gloomy as all fuck. So I was out in the rain today.
Yeah, so she's doing all right, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. When's the last time I was on?
Oh, fuck.
You don't have to look it up. I was more of a guest of it.
It's really not that hard. That's what you said. Let's see if my internet's gonna work. Who knows?
Yeah.
Although if you can still hear me, it's still working. So I got that going for me.
Let's put it this way. I think the last time you were on, Matt was only doing the one podcast. Now he's doing 3.
I liked it.
You have another one now?
Yeah. It was June 9th. No.
Okay.
July 9th. I'm bad at numbers.
Yeah. And sobriety.
Am I the only guest who's been on this many times?
No. I think Jack's been on like 13 times.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
But Jack is officially a co-host.
Yeah, but Jack and Erica, I think Erica's almost at 10. Jack's at like 13.
You gotta step it up. How many times have I? Like what? 7?
I don't know. The search in Google Sheets is not working.
I think it's the same number of fingers that Matt likes up his butt.
Well, we're about to find out. Please hold.
Please hold is also good instruction.
Wait
for Mr. Hansy.
1, 2. This is fucking slow. Isn't this fun? 3. This is only your 4th time.
Yeah. No, it is not.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No.
July.
Hostel. I was on for Hostel. I was on for Cure for Wellness. Black Christmas.
Oh, shit. Okay. This is 5. I rolled over.
This is 5?
Yeah.
Because then we had, what did we do in, we did Behind the Mask in June.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, yeah, I got to step up.
But that's 5, so that means Matt has to send you a jacket. We go by SNL rules.
Good.
Oh, yeah?
I had to.
I get a PoT jacket now.
A letter jacket. I sent
a letter jacket.
Yeah, they're the same material as the Emperor's New Clothes.
Trust us, you look great in it.
I had done bowling.
I only own one jacket.
What's that?
I said I only own the one jacket, so it would be nice to get something else because people are starting to comment on my odor.
For the first podcast I did, it was basically with a group of my best friends. But I made us bowling shirts one year with the logo for the podcast on the back, and all of us had nicknames and stuff, and they were embroidered on the front. What would we do for PoT? I mean, I'm pushing bathrobes because I just feel like that's who I am as a person. Also, I knew Anthony was going to be on here, and there was no way I was going to try to compete with that. Like he's bringing that kind of heat, and I'm like, no, fuck that.
The next time he's on, let's just all wear black jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or pink ladies jackets.
You're right.
That you just wanted to wear the skin of pink ladies.
Yeah. No, that's pink babies.
Oh. I don't think I'll fit into a pink baby.
Not one.
Oh, I need to.
It's like a mink stole.
String a
Oh,
bunch
Jesus
together.
Christ.
What?
Sweet Jesus.
Not that bad.
I feel every time I talk to you, Matt, I feel like I need to take a shower afterwards.
Imagine how my wife feels.
Why don't we just start doing this in the shower?
Good.
We sound fantastic.
You'd lose subscribers if anyone saw this in the shower.
That's why you just do it from the tits up.
Also, last week, Matt and Randy Fitzsimmons were doing the longest episode of the show.
Ooh.
I saw. I
Oh,
didn't
God.
watch it live, but I went back and I was like, "This episode's fucking 4 hours long. Why is it so fucking long?" And
So
I
I'd
was
love
like,
to see when the hot
okay.
water runs out at Matt's place and just the shrivel dick of 4 hours in a cold shower.
I mean, don't worry about me. I have like a 50-gallon hot water tank
Yeah.
and a tiny piss.
But which one of you would scrub the other one's back?
Who, the loser of a series of games of war, the card game.
Okay.
So, seems pretty simple to me.
"Yeah, them's the rules."
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So what have you been up to? It's only been like 3 months.
Yeah, nothing. I mean,
You didn't release 14 different movies?
no.
Cool.
Literally, I finished doing the show, climbed into my coffin, and I just got out of the coffin for this show.
Wow.
Didn't you do Matilda after the last time that we hung out?
Oh yeah, I did do that too, and I had a film that came out, but all from the coffin.
Just those two things.
Just those two things.
Hmm.
No, yeah, I've been dabbling. In stuff, paying the bills, or attempting to.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't, the government comes after you, so you probably should.
Yeah, that's kind of important.
Yeah. Do you really haven't released any movies? I mean,
I did Abstraction. Abstraction came out in August.
I was gonna say we briefly talked about it last time, but I couldn't remember if it's been out because I drank a lot.
And then I directed Matilda.
Hmm.
But other than that, I didn't do anything else. I've just been trying to behave like a human, or attempt to.
I mean, I assume you have something else coming out shortly.
Trying to blend into functioning society. No,
Wow, this is the least busiest you've ever been with.
Yeah,
one movie and one play in 3 months' time. You fucking slacker.
Yeah, right. You piece of shit.
No, it's like I feel like it's not that I feel burned out. I want to like a lot of the stuff that's been coming to the forefront of my brain recently has just been like the same stuff. So I'm trying to like really like I want my next thing to be like something new or something different. I don't want it to just be the same. If that makes sense. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass.
Are you talking about doing different genre, or are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't know what it means. I want to. I'm working on I've been working on a book since January, and I'm in the last draft right now before I send it off to a publication company. But now after rereading it, I think I might go through another couple drafts because I'm like, it's not like writing a book is a totally different fucking beast. It's something I've never done it before. I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll try it. I mean, how hard could it be? It's really fucking hard.
Yeah,
it's my entire life's goal, and but you January to now, I've just finished this draft, and I might take a couple more passes at it. I'm like,
No, but you get it. I'm one of those pretentious assholes who assumes that like, oh, how hard could it be?
No, you're one of those achieving assholes, which is just as bad, if not worse. To me, the not achieving asshole.
You're an achieving asshole, though, or not.
I achieve being an asshole.
You
There is
achieve.
that.
I'd like to eat asshole.
Who doesn't?
I was like, is that not what we're talking about?
No, yeah, we're talking about that too. That's between the lines of our conversation.
It's almost like a crack.
Right.
Oh, that's fun.
No, but yeah, it's I don't know. It's not even really. I mean, I don't consider it a novel. It's like a bunch of short stories that I wasn't able to compile into film. So they're like scripts that I had written over the years, and I just compiled them into structured narrative, like a book, as opposed to a film.
So you just wrote.
I mean, yeah.
You just did the writing. You did the effective storytelling.
Well, because it's all dialogue. It was all dialogue, so I had to think. I had to do the extra step because usually when you direct something, you can like it can come as you're on set. Like you can write the lines and they can take on a new meaning on set. Like, oh, what did I mean when I wrote this? I'm gonna have her move over here and do this or whatever. But when you're doing a book, you have to know where the fuck these characters are going and the emotional journey and the physical journey, and it's so different.
Yeah, I find that I do a lot of dialogue-heavy stuff, and so what I'm missing is that kind of active imagery when I write, and that's always what I struggle with. I hear people talk, I have ideas as to who they are, and it kind of plays out in that way, but God, those motherfuckers need to do something.
And it's so like they're totally like writing a screenplay and a novel are two fucking totally different things.
Yeah,
which is the issue I take sometimes with Stephen King not liking his adaptations. Is like he doesn't get that they're two different mediums and things that work in a novel necessarily won't work in a film.
And didn't he do the actual script for Sleepwalkers?
He did the script for a lot. He did the script for Sleepwalkers. He did the script for, and sometimes it works. He did the script for Pet Sematary, and that's my favorite. Okay. That's my favorite horror film ever made. He did.
I just remember Sleepwalkers being advertised like it was like Stephen King's really hardcore involved in it this time, and that thing was
a train wreck.
Oh God, yes,
a flaming train wreck with exploding cats on it.
Yeah,
and like even like people love Maximum Overdrive, and I can't get into it. I tried so hard to get into it, and I can't.
It's so campy 80s, and it so perfectly encapsulates that kind of like caught in a room thing with characters, and the different character archetypes are played really well. I think it lucks out because it has some actors who were very early in their careers who were quite good. So it all comes together, plus fucking AC/DC and a truck with the Green Goblin face on the front.
That's true.
You can't argue with how the imagery of that all comes together into something magical. Is it the best movie in the world? No, I think Tremors is a better example of kind of the same thing.
I love Tremors so much.
But they're in touch with each other.
Right. Well, I think the issue with it comes from like you have like the trailer comes out and the truck is like center of the frame, and Stephen King walks out and the synthesizer music from Halloween 3 is playing, and he's like, I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right. I'm like, Stephen King right is campy's 80. You're not the master of suspense and horror anymore.
Yeah, and Stephen King is the master of shitting the ending too. He's a fantastic writer that takes you all the way along this journey and then gets to the end and he's like, wah, wah.
Yeah. I mean, and there's sometimes where I think his endings where it's not like, but what if this isn't the ending? The endings where he bookends it and it's done, I think are fine. Like the ending of Misery is fine. Paul Sheldon gets away, Annie Wilkes is dead. That's it. Or the ending of The Shining. Well,
which version?
Jack Torrance is dead, and Wendy and Danny get away, but not really the ending because they're coming out with they have Dr. Sleep. But It's like the book itself is bookended.
Which we should let people know if they haven't looked at the title of the show yet that this episode is going to be about a Stephen King story taken to film at 1408, which honestly, I think in as far as what I've experienced in the films of these two properties, I think is a better version of The Shining than The Shining is.
I was gonna bring it up because I agree 100%, and I tell people that there are people that don't like that movie, and I think it's better than The Shining. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I watched The Shining.
We're 15 minutes in.
Yeah. Let's not blow our load too early in the show. We haven't talked about Taco Bell yet.
Oh, what's new at
That's
Taco Bell?
right. We usually don't get to the film till about 45 minutes in.
Okay, so Matt, to answer your question, Taco Bell news, there is a lawsuit going on from some couple who determined that the $5 box offers are full of shit. Not the regular full of shit that you'd expect in a box of Taco Bell, but literally the advertising is false. And so they went to buy some burrito box thing, and it cost them 3 times as much as what the advertised price of $5 is. And that's across the board. Something that Taco Bell's doing with all of their $5 promotions is like, yeah, we'd say it's $5, but then there's this little teeny fine print of white writing over gray backdrop that you can't see that says, yeah, but it's probably not really this price.
I've never not gotten a $5 box for $5.
What are you getting in it though?
Well, whatever usually the special item is. So right now, double chalupa box, $5. That is what I would be getting.
Yeah, I guess it's by case of which franchise ownership it's under. But yeah, so they're suing Taco Bell, and it's just this couple and this lawyer, and it's going to cost Taco Bell millions of dollars. I don't know. False advertising is kind of a weird thing to push back on.
Yeah, no, it's super weird. But either way, I still got my $5 boxes. Other new items: Baja Blast Birthday Freeze and a Sour Strawberry Skittles Freeze.
I'm not a fan of the Baja Blast.
I like the Zero Sugar Baja Blast is really fucking good.
Yeah, I can't. They're Mountain Dew flavors that go too far. Too far away from the original source material.
You're too far from the source material.
I am. Also, anything Baja sounds like it's going to be nasty. Like it needs rum to exist.
Agree to disagree.
But there, Anthony, that was my stab at trying to get us the usual bullshit out of the way before we can talk about the movie proper. You didn't think I had one loaded up. I always have one loaded up.
Oh, man.
That's funny.
Ask my wife.
So this odd occurrence of like random Stephen King shit that's all happened in the past week. So we watched. My wife's never seen The Shining, so we watched that. I was in Denver, which is right by the Stanley Hotel, which is what The Shining is based off of.
The one in Colorado.
Yes. So we're talking about going back out there to actually stay at the Stanley, which you can stay in room 237 for
Right.
prime price of $500 a night. Yeah. I'm like, we'll just stay there. It doesn't have to be that room. But they're also turning Stephen King's house into a museum and writer's retreat in Maine.
He's not going to live there anymore?
Nope.
Wow.
So it got like unanimously voted.
I think he probably got sick of all the people coming to visit.
Well, that was part of it. So now he's just like, let's make it a museum and a writer retreat, and we're gonna fucking move somewhere else.
Because I used to go anytime I would go to Maine, I would always stop by his house because he always would always put a red balloon in the window.
Oh, nice.
People take pictures of.
Is he moving out of the state, or is he just moving out of that house?
He's just moving out of the house.
He's moving to New Mexico, and now all of his books are going to take place in New Mexico.
See, that would be a pretty big upset for Stephen King to not be in Maine anymore, because I think that I even heard somebody say it the other day is you didn't know shit about where Maine was until you found Stephen King.
That's a good point. No one cares about Maine. Except the people who live there. Maybe the people who live there do. I don't know.
Yeah, we actually have several friends of the show who live there. So,
well, there is that, but that's another place we talked about going to was that museum at his house.
I like the idea of the writer retreat there.
Yeah, there's 5 writers at a time can stay there. I don't know what the duration of the stay is or what, however that works out, but I just saw there was 5 people.
Yeah, talk about pressure to perform. So I want to go. I'm gonna write a story. I'm gonna do it in the Stephen King house. Yeah, it's $500 a night. So I'm gonna write the back of a shampoo label at the Stephen King house, just so I know I can get something done and say that I did it.
Yeah, like I wonder, is there any benefit to going to his writer retreat, or just like, is it just a writer's retreat? You know what I mean? Like certain bands record in certain recording studios because X band recorded there. Is there like a prestige to that to writers? I don't know. I'm not a fucking
It's
writer.
like you rub his typewriter and you're instantly brilliant.
Right.
Or is somebody gonna be the asshole who just goes in and writes "I'll work and no play, makes Shaq a dull boy" the entire time, to be the guy who does it?
Right.
Well, I do feel like, as far as what I've read, and I've read a lot of books about writing, Stephen King's On Writing is one of the most honest books about writing and the process and stuff. It's not necessarily all advice that I follow, but I find that, yeah, it's a great book. It's a great read because it's kind of an autobiography and a thing about writing in one. But he doesn't really dance around stuff. Like a lot of books about writing are just a thing about writing feeding you bullshit and kind of like playing out the same theme over and over again, and you don't really get anywhere. It's just the advice is in the title, and his is something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got nothing to say to that. I don't understand the writing process or the writing side, so I was just leaving it up to you guys to kind of talk about that.
Don't leave it up to us guys. Leave it up to Anthony.
I'd fake it.
That is what I do.
Oh, tell your wife I'm sorry.
I pretend like I know what's going on.
Well, since we got Taco Bell Minute out of the way, should we just start talking about the movie? I know it's really early to do so, but
No, nothing else. No news. There's no horror news or nothing going on.
I don't know.
Nothing.
It's like most of the shit already came out. October's almost.
I will say I was watching it. I saw that you guys were talking about Saw 3 and Saw 4, and I was really disappointed because Saw 4 is one of my favorites.
They don't even remember that they watched it. I don't know that discussion could definitely be revisited in a much shorter episode. But
the purpose of that episode was not to cover Saw 3 and 4. It was to be 4 hours long.
That's the purpose of this podcast. That is the weekly show, is to not talk about the movie.
Is there a record? Was there a record or something?
Is the record. So it was 3 hours and 30 minutes.
For longest live stream?
Yeah. No.
For us. Not for other people. I mean, we've got friends who've done 24 hours or 48 hours usually for charity stuff.
Yeah.
But
you should do the PoT telethon. You should have like 10 or 12 guests on.
I don't know if I could handle that.
No?
No, I would I would just lose interest halfway through and just give up.
He's already nodding off now.
I don't want to go to work tomorrow.
I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I was supposed to have tomorrow off. But they're like, can you come in tomorrow and not Sunday? I was like, I guess. I mean,
fuckers.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Nah, I shouldn't have agreed with it, but I did.
Well, just don't go to work and be like, hey, I was on this podcast last night. You should listen to it, especially the point where I say I hate my job.
I call you a bunch of fuckers.
I mean, I don't hate the job. I just hate all you assholes that are here. It's really, we're going to be specific about it.
I just hate you guys on weekdays.
Yeah.
Fucking worst.
It's almost Halloween, though. Do you guys hand out candy?
I have one neighbor.
Oh, that's sad.
No.
Yeah, if people show up at Matt's house, they're basically in a fucking Carpenter film, and it's just like it's the cheese has eyes kind of thing. It's a weird mix of like you are in the right place, but in the middle of the very, very wrong place.
Yeah.
And what about you, Corey?
Well, we had just moved into the house last year around this time, so I got candy to pass out, and we had probably about 5, maybe 10 at most people stop by. But this house had been unoccupied for a number of years, so even though we're in a pretty good spot, and we're right across the street from the restaurant, I don't think people expected that there was somebody who was going to open up the door and everything, and like we look even worse now. we gave up on mowing the lawn about a month and a half or so ago. I was just like, I'm too fucking tired. Just let it go. And so it definitely moodier is a point of view. We haven't decorated, and that's kind of disappointing because we want to get to that point where we're going to start doing decorations for holidays and stuff. We're planning something really light for Christmas this year because we didn't do Christmas at all last year.
Okay.
Other than our cat showing up in our backyard and going, oh, hey, we got a miracle kitten who's a fucking dick. So I'll get candy to pass out, but beyond that, it's going to be pretty light again, I think.
I used to put out, because I live in an apartment building because I'm in New York. I used to put out decorations like outside, but they all kept getting stolen, so I just stopped putting shit out.
Yeah.
People kept stealing them. I'm like, what are you gonna do with a foam skeleton that I'm hanging outside? What the fuck are you gonna do with it?
Sometimes I think it's just about taking things instead of what they're doing with it.
I'm just like, I'm just gonna take this.
Yeah.
Why? Just cause it's there. But
It's the thrill of stealing shit. They don't give a fuck what they're gonna do with it. It probably ended up in the garbage, but they stole it.
That's kind of fucked up.
It's super fucked up, but
that is kids. I'm gonna say kid brother, but he's 25. He's his group that I'll have. I don't really know exactly what it is, but he's got Asperger's. He's in a group of people that are all kind of supportive and things. So this group had done a pumpkin decoration thing a couple weeks ago when I was there visiting, and I guess somebody went and smashed the pumpkins that were made by some of the people.
Oh, that's fucked up.
It's fucked up, but I was trying to let him know that's not something that is specific to you or your group. That is probably
they
not
wanted to do it.
Right. It probably has nothing targeted towards you guys. Which I know can very much be the case. I'm like, this is just the destruction of pumpkins. Like, there's a band called Smashing Pumpkins because it's such an innate thing. It's just realistically, that's what kids do, especially around Halloween. And I'm from Michigan, so we have Devil's Night. I don't know if we still have Devil's Night because I'm far enough away from Detroit. But it is a thing here that the night before Halloween is just people go out and go fucking havoc wild.
Isn't Detroit Devil's Night?
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Detroit sucks.
It's all right.
I've never been there.
It's better than San Francisco.
Airport, but I've never been there.
It's better than San Francisco.
Ooh,
For one,
like San Francisco.
we have Coney Islands. We have chili dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's reasons like that, like people smashing pumpkins, are the reason I love movies like Trick or Treat,
Mm-hmm.
where they just fuck up the people that are shitting on the holiday. And like I sometimes consider checking myself into a mental institution because I'm like, in a lot of those films, I'm like, yeah, go. Even like during, did you ever see Joker?
Not yet. Is it
No.
good?
I fucking loved it.
Ooh,
I loved it so fucking much. But like, he gets bullied and beat down, all this stuff. And then when people get the shit that's coming to them, I'm like, fuck yeah. And I shouldn't be doing that because that's fucking, he's like murdering people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like,
there's always a fine line of rooting for the villain. There's always a fine line for rooting for the murderer in these slasher flicks and stuff that we watch. Like, people, it got to a point where Freddy Krueger, because he's so entertaining, was what people were like cheering for.
Right.
In
it's
the
his
film.
movie.
But he is also a child rapist,
Right.
and murderer. but that's the therapeutic version of the scary movie stuff and these horrific films, is that you feel a connection to the Joker because he's going through all this abuse and stuff. You recognize that, you are familiar with it yourself, you empathize.
Right.
The fact that he takes it to this exacting thing of like killing people and stuff, and I haven't seen the movie either. That's the fantasy, but it is living out the fantasy, and in doing that, he puts on fucking clown makeup, right? So it's it's not supposed to be taken seriously in that regard, and there is sort of a kind of bent of like, yeah, but man, if I could beat up the people who used to beat me up, how nice would that be? We just know that we're enlightened enough to
It's
understand
like vicarious insanity.
right. That is a very good way of putting it.
But it's like, and it's like, he's not going out, wanting to. He just wants people to like each other, and he wants people to smile. He just has a very sadistic way of going about it. He just wants what we all want. We just want everyone to get along, and he's taking it into his own hands.
The best way to get people to get along is to get rid of about half of them.
That's right.
I like your stance. Yeah.
But it's a very good film. People are like, oh, it's sending the wrong message. I'm like, no, it's letting you know that there are people like this out there, and don't be an asshole. You're just interpreting that way because you probably have like some pent up feelings towards this, but it's a movie. You're going to be entertained.
Yeah.
I've been abstaining because I don't like the window dressing of the Joker, and in a story that has nothing to do with the Joker. That's a thing that always bugs me.
Yeah, the film could have literally been called anything else.
I think it was called Taxi Driver.
And you
again, I'm going off a joke. I've not seen the movie. I've never actually watched Taxi Driver, so
I mean, it's good. It's really good, and like they have the whole connection to like other DC characters. Like Thomas Wayne is in the movie.
Yep, I've heard that.
And it's like, but you could change that, and you could change the fact that
it doesn't need to be there. It's
Joker
name only
message.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they did it. I'm glad for this new take on the Joker, because he might be he's up there. He's maybe tied with Heath for my second favorite Joker. My favorite Joker will always be Jack Nicholson. But he may be tied for second with Heath Ledger because he was that good.
Yeah, and I hear his performance is great. And that's the thing, is I don't want to discount the quality of the movie, the quality of the performances, or anything else like that. It's just, one, that's not really... The fact that I haven't seen Taxi Driver kind of already alludes to the fact that it's not my jam. Mm-hmm. And two is that was the stance that I took when I first heard it announced. It's like, why are they calling this Joker when it's not actually about Joker? It's not going to be a character that has anything to do with Batman. It's not going to have it.
And he's not going to be in any of the Batman. He's not in Matt Reeves' Batman movie or anything. They're not setting up another film.
And it's a one-shot. And there's so many things in comics where they do one-shots or they do Elseworlds. DC does Elseworld stuff all the time, where they do an alternative take. And that's all okay. It was just this one stuck in my craw at a point in time where comic book movies I felt were, especially on the Warner Brother DC side, were just kind of like, they didn't give a shit about how anything worked together. And that's what I've already dealt with the X-Men movies. And what I like about the Marvel movies is, yes, they might be formulaic, but they synchronize really well. You feel like you're part of a universe when you watch any of the Marvel movies, how they all tie in together. I think that's, for me, a better take as a comic book guy.
Right.
But I'm not saying that DC or like the current DC, because obviously past DC, I go back to Christopher Reeve Superman. That's still like the top of the heap. But I feel like DC has had some good movies in their current crop of films, or at least really enjoyable movies. And it doesn't really hinge on, well, Aquaman and Wonder Woman are the same universe. You can kind of skip over that. But it's just so cool when you have Captain America and Thor and Iron Man all in their separate films, and then they sync up so well in their Avengers movies. until it's done. And that's kind of the thing is like after the last Avengers movie and after Spider-Man kind of putting the final pin in it, it just feels like it's also done, and it's hard to get excited about whatever's coming up next. Not that we have much clue about it. So there's benefits and there's detriments on both sides of it. But I don't know. It's a joke movie.
I mean, it's very like I'm honestly so sick of the MCU.
Oh sure,
it's great. You know, people are loving those films, and they're in love with these characters, but they're not. I don't think of it. Maybe I'm just tired of epics. I'm tired of movies that are like, oh, in the world, like those big that they're just milking that cash cow for everything it's worth, and they keep coming up with creative ways to progress that story. But I'm so tired of it.
Well, I mean,
I'd rather go to a little art house theater and see a heart-wrenching drama than the next Marvel film.
Well, that's the Scorsese thought process. Francis Ford Coppola just said something similar to what Scorsese's been saying. Is that I don't like the idea that these people are saying that these movies are hideous and bad examples of filmmaking, because they're not. They're if you have something that you've made that gets that much enjoyment from people, it's obviously doing something right. But I think that it's all that you're really seeing or all that you're really hearing about, and I feel like it goes hand in hand with the remake culture, which I don't love. The tell the same stories over again, or reboot something that happened 20 years ago or even 10 years ago in some cases. We're so insistent that we have to have a third Ghostbusters movie, even though the heart of the Ghostbusters stuff is kind of been and gone a long time ago, and Ghostbusters 2 was kind of already sketch as it was.
And
it's too bad that we don't have that creativity to say we can make new stuff. But the reality is that the audience is so nostalgia driven and familiarity driven that they don't care. It's far easier to do a new take on Child's Play, but have the Child's Play name, than to make something new that even has similar themes to Child's Play, but call it something else and expect the audience to still show up.
And see, the thing that's sad is that there are filmmakers out there who want to tell those stories, but they're not given the audience and they're not given the chance to tell those stories or the budget to tell those stories, because people having something with a built-in fan base is easier to get a crowd in than it is to build up a fan base. And even you look at, I loved Jordan Peele's Get Out, and that was like, oh, people were like, and it brought something new. And every time we get a film like that, it's like, people are like rushing to the theaters, like, oh, it's so amazing, but we're not getting enough of it.
I mean, I shit on Hereditary all the time, every chance I get.
I shit on Hereditary too.
But it was at least an original story. It was somebody's original idea, and they put it together, and for good or ill, they made their art and they stood behind it. And I see a lot of value in that. And the fact that the guy did Midsommar, and Midsommar seems to be getting a lot of...
Midsommar was great.
Yeah,
I love Midsommar. It was everything that I wanted Hereditary to be. Hereditary was just boring. I didn't find it... I found that the scary moments were scary and the unsettling moments were unsettling, but the characters around it were uninteresting.
Yeah, and it just didn't feel like
around it was... No, and in the ending, I was like, what the fuck? This is what we're leading up to? Whereas I felt like I was high watching Midsommar. Because two characters will be talking and they'll have like that wavy Instagram filter going on with the trees in the background because they're on shrooms in parts of the scene. But it's like you're on shrooms with them.
Matt was legitimately high watching it.
Midsommar was.
Were you really?
Yeah. I told.
So how was it for you?
I thought it was great.
That's not in the movie theater. I wasn't on anything when I watched.
Yeah, I watched.
Matt was so fucked up he thought everything was running straight. He just was like, wow, this is like watching a fucking documentary about the librarians and shit.
No, dude, I really liked it. I want to watch it like straight to make sure I still like it. But I had texted Jack and told him what I was going to do, and he's like, "Be careful, it's a fucking."
I just watched the director's cut.
Is that?
I really wished I hadn't.
Oh, All right.
'Cause it was
I will not try and watch it then.
it was too long and too extended and too explainy. Like the images, he didn't let the images speak on their own. The scenes were extended. There was so much extra stuff that didn't need to be there. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't see. If I saw that version in the theaters, I probably wouldn't have liked it.
It would have felt like Hereditary.
Exactly.
But I listened to Brokeback Mountain podcast by friends of ours, David Luzader and Phil Rude, the other day. They had done Bad Times at the El Royale, which was a cool little movie, and it was by Drew Goddard, and Drew Goddard had worked on Cabin in the Woods with Joss Whedon. He's a Joss Whedon disciple. And both of those
that movie was pretty good too. I did like it.
Yeah, no,
Battle at the El Royale.
And both those movies are good, solid films. I think when people find them and they watch them, they're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." A lot of cool characterization. The reveals are good. Bad Times is a little long, but it still it pays off. I think in a great way. And in both those cases, those films didn't make any money in the theaters, or they didn't make what they needed to even make their budgets. I think, but in both cases, they're original creations that you look at it later on, you go, oh shit, why did I miss this? Why did I not go see this? And I think because they're advertised wrong, and I think because people's expectations are already like, yeah, Bad Times at the El Royale, it's got Thor in it, but where's the next Thor?
Hey, funny story. The keynote speaker at the conference I was at was Thor's stunt double.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry, that's all I got.
But how do you feel about Taco Bell?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I was too busy doing drugs in Colorado.
Good for you.
Hey man,
he did as many. Other like chipmunks store food in their cheeks for the winter. Matt stores pot so he can where it's legal.
I was busy.
He was like, "Oh, it's legal here," and he stores it into his cheeks for the winter.
I wasn't the only person.
A
specific trip from people I had met talking to. That.
You know, you do you.
I'm J man.
No, but Bad Times at the El Royale still feels nostalgic in the sense that I love like those Western Clue, whodunit, stranger strolls into a bar in the middle of a storm movies. But I didn't need a remake of something to tell me that story. It told me that story in a different way.
Yeah, there's things that are evocative of old stuff that don't cheat. It feels maybe a little bit like a cheat. Stranger Things is so in line with the 80s stuff that it's emulating that you kind of feel like, oh yeah, this goes hand in hand. Like, yeah, this music must be something I've heard before. These characters must be, but it's not. It's an original story that's done in such a way that it makes you think about all the cool things that you've had. Whereas something like Ready Player One just inserts all that nostalgia in there and just tries to strangle you with it. And
which was still a good movie. I still enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, well, Spielberg did a good job of it. But everybody kept telling me, oh, you got to read Ready Player One. You got to read it's your book. It's so your book because it's like all the nostalgia shit and all this stuff, like how you just come up with the top of your head, like this is a story about you. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to read that story because that's the part of me that I don't like, is that I talk in quotes. I talk in like the references and stuff that people, that I assume people know. And then I have to explain when they don't get it. I work in IT, and the other IT guys and stuff are the same fucking person as I am. We make the same jokes. We do the same voiceovers. It's unfortunate, not because they're bad or they're not fun, but it loses something because, like, well, that's my shtick, and it's not a great shtick.
Well, I do the same thing. Everything is in quotes. Anytime someone talks to me, they'll have a keyword in their conversation that I know will tie into a Harry Potter quote or a Star Wars quote or a Jurassic Park quote. And I'll just switch into it. Like I was in Queens up at they have a farm up there with a maze and stuff, and they were playing movie soundtrack. And they start playing the main theme from Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned to my buddy that I was with, and I go, Dr. Grant, welcome to Jurassic Park. Like, I just like start doing that stuff because it's like it's
like,
in
your head. But
it's the switch.
But when we're looking at the movies of today and the comics and everything else like that, is we were all raised on the same shit. It's like a fucking inbreeding of ideas, and so we're royalty blooding ourselves into having nothing new because we just kind of want to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Or we make it so like we spoon feed so like Ready Player One, the book is really different from.
It's very, very different from the movie.
Yeah. Like the book references like Metropolis and things like for obscure actual nerds, not those mainstream nerds that wear fake prescription glasses and are like, ooh, I watched all 3 Back to the Futures in a marathon one weekend. I'm such a geek. They fucking a sci-fi nerd is. They just know like, ooh, Gremlins, ooh, Back to the Future, ooh, which I love. I love all of those things.
Yeah.
But the fact that they had to change it so much makes it almost like, why didn't they just tell their own a different story if they were, because it's so different.
Yeah, and I think first of all, I want to say that for me, I don't believe that there's such a thing as fake nerds or fake geeks or you're not fan enough. I don't cut in any of that. I think if you like something, you like something, and you don't have to be at a competition level of like, I like this as much as that person. So let me give you the test of which was your first Uncanny X-Men issue, or who was Alfred's first girlfriend and what superhero to become, and all these things.
That whole gatekeeping mentality.
Right. Yeah. I hate that sense of mentality because it always, first of all, it always seems to target women more than anybody. But just in general, it's like, I would have loved to have been able to have a communication with people when I was younger to just like, this was my world. Reading comics was my entire world. And that I couldn't have a straight conversation with somebody else about the stuff that meant so much to me because they just didn't get it at that point in time. And now there's this whole thing is blown up and everybody's kind of been invited into my world. And I get that some people feel protective of that because I was here first. You're just raiding this country and taking over my. Oh, that seems familiar. Anyway, I get that you feel protective of something that you valued for so long, and all these people are coming in, and not only are they not as familiar with it, but they're changing the landscape of it. Now the creators behind it are putting them first as their target audience instead of you. So I'm the hardcore guy. Like, the Joker movie for me isn't about Joker's relationship with Batman and the whole backstory of either Jack Napier, if you go back to the 80s movie, or further back beyond that. And the things that I think would be inherent into a Joker story aren't there. But for a mainstream audience, this Joker story nails it because they give you a Joker and they give you a motivation for a Joker. And all the rest of that stuff that matters to me doesn't matter to them. They just want something that looks cool up on the screen and tells a good tale and gives them a couple hours of entertainment. I'm not right.
Yeah.
But I still feel like, can I be losing something by that stuff existing and I don't get what I want? Maybe, but shit, that's the whole point of wanting to write stuff myself, is that I can make the thing I want if I wanted to. I don't necessarily have that drive or ability, but it's not anybody's fault that it doesn't exist, because if no audience was there and it was just me sitting in a room, nobody's going to make that fucking movie for me anyway. I'm not giving you your billions of dollars.
No, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's like, and I think that it's most prominent in like things like I loved The Walking Dead, like the graphic novels.
Yeah.
And then the further I got into the show, the less it felt like an authentic version of what I loved about those stories.
Yeah.
Because they just seemed like it was catering more and more towards, like again, they brought in original elements like Daryl, who is a great character in the show, or like even like Game of Thrones. I've never read Game of Thrones, but I have friends who have read them and don't like the TV show necessarily. I love the TV show, so I think that's interesting that it works both ways.
Yeah, but you felt
Regardless
that
of who you are.
the first 5 seasons or whatever of Game of Thrones, you felt that heat from people like, well, Jesus, you can't be surprised by what happened at the Red Wedding. It's been in the book for 30 years and all that shit. But at the same time, when the whole ending of the show shits the bed, we're all on the same page. That was fucking stupid. What did you do in that last season? You just fucked us? You completely fucked us. Cersei had like 5 lines in the episode where she died. What bullshit? Anyway.
I heard fucked and I got turned on.
Yeah. As you should be. No, I watched the Shazam movie a couple weeks ago, and
did you like it?
I did, but I had to turn off the part of my brain that was like, I've read Shazam for 40 years.
Oh,
and
shit.
Then some.
I was thinking of Shaq's Kazam.
Right.
That's what I thought the first time he said. Like, no, he means the Zachary Levi movie.
The Sinbad movie Shazam that doesn't exist. But like, I loved what they did with it as a movie that is a superhero movie that is for a broader audience, for a younger audience and things. I like the whole family aspect of it. I felt like there was so much there that was so true to what the ideology of the Shazam character, the Captain Marvel Shazam character was, that it ekes out over what it wasn't. You know, okay, so it's not just Billy Batson is the only Shazam, and we don't get Mary and Captain Marvel Jr. We don't have an Uncle Dudley or a Talkie Tawny or any of these other things. But it does something else that I think is true to what the ideals were of what the Shazam character was, without also being like a parallel to Superman, which they've already got a Superman, so why do that? I get the changes that they made, and I think because I was able to turn out that part of my brain that says, well, this isn't right. It's like, no, but this is fun. This is cute. This is something else. And again, it's not really meant for me. You know, it's meant for kids today. It's hard to, like when the Star Wars prequels came out, I don't like them. But the kids who saw them for the first time, and that was their introduction to the Star Wars, loved it. You know, they got something completely different out of it. They got something wrong, but still, it's fine. It's okay.
That's why I consider myself very lucky, because, you know, my parents, they're not like, you know, film experts. They're not film enthusiasts, but they like movies, and they know what they like. And they didn't try to. I have friends who were so sheltered and not allowed to see things when they were younger or until they were a certain age. My parents, as long as I would sit and look at the screen, they would let me watch it. That was never an issue. So, like, I'm over here like, you know, a baby in diapers. Ooh, Phantom Menace. And my dad's like, no, A New Hope. Like, you know, they made sure they'd let me see the
original trilogy.
Prequels. My dad took me to see the prequels, all of them in theaters, but there was a little dollar theater near us, and he took me to see the original trilogy first.
Yeah. So
that I could appreciate and enjoy, but he didn't say, "Oh no, you can't see the prequels. It's unorthodox, whatever." He wanted to my horizons. If I wanted to watch Goonies, he let me watch Goonies. I remember the one film that I was like, I thought the cover was so scary when we went to the movie rental place, was Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh yeah.
The cover for it. I was like, oh, like, and then he showed it to me, and I'm obsessed. It's such. I didn't anticipate something so like upbeat and funny, but scary at the same time, and not scary now, but, you know, to a 4-year-old.
A giant plant that just eats people whole. That's fucked up.
Yeah, and it's like, but now as an adult, I look back at it and I think it's hilarious.
Oh, of course. And
I think it's so funny.
Like, I sit in my car sometimes and we'll still sing the Steve Martin "You'll Be a Dentist" song.
The dentist song, yeah, and it's like, and that movies like that are what got me into, like, I started to do my own special effects. I made so many Audrey 2 puppets as a kid.
Yep.
Like, I started out with stock puppets. Then I got into paper mache, and that's how I ultimately got into, like, taking photographs of them and making them into, like, little comics. which gave me the basic concept of what editing is now.
Yeah.
But with video, so I would make like these little pictures, and I'd cut them out of the book into like the way they would appear with like thought bubbles and speech bubbles, and then I got a video camera, and my parents taught me how to do that stuff. So I feel like very grateful that they weren't like pushing how they felt about something on me necessarily. They'd let me watch whatever I wanted to watch.
Yeah.
Like I thought Halloween H2O was the greatest thing. And I didn't want to watch Halloween, the first one, until a little bit later. My dad was like, all right, do what you want, do what you gotta do. I mean, the only one he was like set on was Star Wars. He wanted me to watch the originals and then the prequels.
Because all that one thing that matters to us, you know.
Yeah, right. And that he was like, I'll let you watch the prequels. Just watch because he took me to see Phantom Menace in theaters. That was, I think, one of the first movies I ever saw in a theater. After the prequel trilogy. But again, I feel A New Hope is my least favorite of the original trilogy.
And see, it still stands out to me as like the most important film of my young life, probably, is just because it did all these things that everything else is compared to.
Right. And I think like my favorite film of all of them, include even the present ones, 1 to 8, is Return of the Jedi.
I love Jedi.
I think it's incredible. And I remember, because it had the most impact on me as far as villains, because villains were very important to me. I'm going to shut up soon, I promise. I just want to get this out there. Villains were always important to me. And I remember, like, you hear about the Emperor the entire time, and it's like, oh my God, this is the guy that Vader worships. Vader bows to this guy. And then the door to the shuttle opens, and you see this crippling old man stumble out of the shuttle, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the Emperor of the Galaxy. This is the guy that Vader bows down to. And then you get to the last scene where Luke is like, fuck you, no, I'm not turning to the dark side. And he's like, all right, shh, fucking lightning fingers, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, fucking lightning fingers, motherfucker. It's like, that's why Vader worships him. Hell yeah.
Imagine if he was finger banging a chick and his lightning fingers went off.
Oh my God, she like shoots out of her mouth just like he vaporizes her insides.
It's very similar to when somebody sticks a finger up your ass and they got those Lee press-on nails. Just me? All right, never mind. No, and so Aaron just recently watched the original RoboCop for the first time.
Oh my God, I'm going to get more.
It's several months back now, but the thing is that it holds up. It's not the same as seeing it in the 80s when it like completely blows your fucking mind of what this movie is doing. But it holds up. She really liked it because it's a good quality film. It's got a good story. The thing about what we complain about with a lot of the horror movie makes and stuff is that the heart of what was originally there doesn't seem to be there in the remakes. And that's why I don't think that they're worth the time. But I haven't seen the new Child's Play. I know that you enjoyed the new Child's Play, right?
Very much, because it was different.
Right.
It was an AI as opposed to Charles Lee Ray being a serial murderer who inhabited the body of a doll. Right. It was different. And it's the first time I you feel sympathy for Chucky because he's doing what he thinks Andy wants. Like there's a part where Andy's like, stupid cat. The cat like jumps off and like claws his arm. He's like, ow. And he's like, oh, stupid fucking cat. And so Chucky starts choking the cat. And then he's like, no, what are you doing? And he rips the doll away, puts it in the bedroom, and it just cuts to Chucky sitting on the bed looking like a scolded child. And he's just like, I'm sorry, Andy. Like he didn't mean to.
Right.
He has no vindictive or malicious intentions. It's just how he is.
He's learning humanity. Yeah. And again, that's the thing. It does something else. It gives you something new, and it has an actual story and heart to it, which is a funny thing to say about a horror movie. But that realistically, that's what gives them film longevity. There's some films that have consisted for decades or longer, and it's because they were made with a pureness of creativity and heart, and so people still relate to it to this day. Which is not to say that you can't do that today. It's just that when all you're doing is emulating the tropes and all you're doing is emulating the lines and you're just repeating the same formula, you're not giving anything to the audience to hold on to. And people know when something rings hollow. They feel it inside. And it's like, okay, there's something really missing in this. And it's just like, that's a blockbuster film versus a film that's going to stick with you. As much as I enjoy the Marvel films, the thing that sticks with me the most is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. That movie I watch all the time because it does so much, and it really hits home as to who the character of Cap is better than anything. And it's become like my favorite superhero film. And it's up there next to the Christopher Reeve Superman for me. It's like this just really encapsulates heroism and being true to the country and then the nation without being beholden to the people who are just in charge of it. Like, I can't get enough of that movie, but it could have just been like Cap punches shit for an hour.
Right. No, yeah. And it's like, and everyone, I feel like everyone has that one film where it's like that. This is what a Marvel film should be. I've yet to meet anyone who likes all of them equally.
Right.
Each one has that one. For me, I love Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's a good movie. It's because I like the characters.
Guess what?
What?
The other speaker at my conference was Gamora's stunt double. I knew I was here for something.
Oh man.
I was telling the truth, by the way.
No.
They really were. It made no fucking sense.
Oh man. No, it's like I think. Wait, what was her name? Do you know what her name is?
Fuck. Let me look.
Matt doesn't know our names.
I went to school with one of the stunt doubles from that movie.
British or Australian.
Sophie. Was her name Sophia?
Might be.
I went to school with her. That's her name. I went to school with her.
Let me see if it's on the
Did she have short hair?
Nah, it was like medium brownish.
Was it like oh well, maybe not. Because I went to school with a girl who was the stunt double in that film, and she's British. She's from the UK. Sophie Baker's her name.
She was Chloe Bruce. She was also a stunt double in she's Rey's stunt double in Star Wars too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So she did some fucking lightsaber thing. I was rocked on edibles. It was pretty good. I bought too much. I had to get rid of them. So yeah, really sidetracked that conversation.
Is that what I get for being on 5 times? You're gonna send me some edibles?
No, well, that's illegal. When it's legal in both our states, then yes.
And legal to send through the U.S. Postal Service.
Well, I think it's legal if it's legal in both states.
Wow.
Because like I can purchase CBD and have that shipped to me because it's legal everywhere. Just saying, man. That's the podcast of illegal drug smuggling.
Illegal drug.
What a weird episode of This American Life that would be.
Oh shit.
Oh,
all right, so telling a story and doing something that kind of sticks with you. Let's talk about 1408.
Yeah, I've only been asking to talk about 428 for a goddamn hour.
Well, we're an hour in. That's usually when we start to talk about the movie. So I think
I'm just kidding. I can't see the chat, so I don't even know if people are talking. For whatever reason, it says it's disabled.
Yeah, it says it's disabled for me too.
I don't fucking threw up a little. I didn't even click anything. So
maybe it's on their YouTube because I think aren't we like live on YouTube?
Yeah, but Lightstream normally has the chat show up. I don't. It decides how it wants to feel every day.
Let me see. I'm gonna look and see how it is.
Yeah,
is there like a live chat on YouTube? No. Oh yeah, there is.
Oh, there is. How many messages?
Erica G.
Oh, fuck that.
Commented on YouTube.
Yeah, fuck her.
I don't think that's
Anyways,
allowed.
let's talk about
She said if you get arrested for drug smuggling, I'm not bailing you out.
not that fucker.
1408.
1408. So,
Did I finally bring one that you guys like?
oh shit,
I have not seen this movie in a very, very, very long time. I just want to start with that.
same. And I think I left it with a better impression of it this time than I did when I originally saw it.
That's good.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember what I thought the first time I saw it, but I do remember what I thought the second time I saw it.
You didn't like it?
I did like it until the end.
Oh.
I thought the end kind of sucked a little bit, but that's
Which ending did you watch?
um
The ending?
what's that?
Do you remember what happens in the ending that you saw?
Yeah, no, he's at him and his wife get back together, so he's starts the fire. He's at the house with his wife, and then he pulls out the tape recorder, and then it has the recording of their daughter.
Is that the ending you saw, Corey?
Yes, I think we watched the same
Oh,
source.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was what the other.
I didn't know that there were different endings.
I love
me either.
Yeah, the version I have, because I know that ending too. I prefer the director's cut ending, and in the director's cut, he dies in the room. He hears his daughter's voice comes from the vent and says, "Daddy, everybody dies," and then he starts to cry, and the camera pans out, and the letters melt off of the door.
So it's the original Clerks ending.
It's Clerks ending?
Yeah, the original Clerks ending where Dante gets shot.
Basically.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a scene in the funeral, and what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson's character listens to the tape recording.
And does he hear him talking to his daughter?
Yeah.
I think I would have rather seen the ending I saw, to be honest.
Yeah, same here.
Really?
I feel like, and I mean, obviously, not having seen the other ending, I can't be too critical of it, but I feel like it still leaves you with this sense of loss because there was something there. In fact, the fact that they get to share the loss makes it even more tragic. Is that his wife, Mary McCormick's character, hears the daughter's voice, knows that at some point he experienced a moment where he got to see her and be around her again, and all this stuff that he's been probably talking about and writing about since that moment is actually based around something true. And she's probably not trivialized it, but didn't necessarily believe it. And then hearing that voice and him just kind of like looking like shit, yeah, and her being just totally floored by it really hits harder, I think, than him dying. Him dying gives him an out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how you, because I think his skepticism throughout the first 40 minutes he enters the room, 40 minutes of the film, it's like, that's my favorite part of the film. My favorite part of the film is his, like, when he checks into the fake hotel and, like, you know, talks to the tape recorder. I love watching artists work, and the fact that he's just like, I don't want to say just, but like the fact that he's doing it primarily just to debunk the supernatural.
Well,
but at the same time, he wants that thing. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So I did really like the fact that even though shit is going awry and he's like, this is not right, he's still like, totally makes sense. They were in the closet.
They drug the alcohol.
Yeah. So I'm like, that was really cool. And then shit gets real fucked up. And then he really has no choice but to realize what's happening. But at that point, I'm like, it got a little too out of control for me. But
yeah,
still like really appreciated it for what it was. Like when I was watching this, I remember thinking like, I feel like this is where escape rooms started. Like the concept where you're in a room you can't get out of and you have to figure out how to fuck to get out of it.
Right.
Maybe right, maybe wrong, but
it is. I mean, it is right. It's just like I think this is a more creative way of doing it. Like he climbs out of the window, says, "Oh, I'm going to climb into the window next door," and it's the only window on the side of the building.
Yeah.
They all disappear. It's like he literally cannot get out of the room. Like even like what is the spirit says when he answers the phone at the end, and the spirit in the phone says, even if you leave this room, you can never leave this room. Like his psyche will always be trapped there, and the things that he's seen he will never recover from it.
And the room basically says the only thing you can do is kill yourself to stop being tortured.
Their express checkout service.
Yes, which is pretty good. But I like the fact that he decides, whereas everybody else has kind of succumbed to the room and killed themselves, he's willing to die, but in doing so, his point is to destroy the room. He plans to die in there when he starts the thing on fire, and is given hints the whole time of the burn me alive thing. But he doesn't expect to escape. He just, this is his way of like, no one else is going to have to go through this shit. I'm going to take this motherfucker out. I'll take myself out with it to achieve this means. You know, right. I'm not going to go through, be tortured over and over again. But I'm not going to die in your terms. I'm going to die on my terms.
And a thing I like about that is that he gave up smoking, but ultimately that's what saves him.
Yeah.
They do that a lot with Stephen King's. He does that a lot in his writing, which is one thing I like about the book ending of The Shining. Is that he forgets Jack Torrance is supposed to fix the boiler or turn the boiler down so it doesn't overheat. And when the demons take hold of him, well, we could have a whole 4-hour conversation about what exactly is going on with Jack Torrance in The Shining. I'm just giving the express explanation. That is what destroys him. His hold to the hotel, the thing he was supposed to do, but forgot, and now that's why the hotel the hotel burns down in the ending of the Shining. But I'm glad they changed it in Kubrick's film, because I don't think this story would have been written. I don't think this film, if those endings were that similar in film adaptation. If that makes sense, I don't know. But even like there are so many ties to The Shining. The character's name in the general manager of the Overlook in The Shining is called Stuart Ullman, and Samuel L. Jackson's character is called Gerald Ullman. It's like,
yeah, and that's, there's a lot of, as I was watching this, there's just a lot of things that feel like it's The Shining, but they're Stephen King stories, and Stephen King has a tendency to go over the same thing over and over again.
Right.
That's why in at least the more recent version of it, the first chapter feels a lot like Stand By Me, the way that the kids act and interact and everything. It just, he kind of has the same thing that he does. It's I don't want to call it a trope, but in this we've got it's a writer in a fucking hotel. Yeah, okay, it must be a Stephen King story. It's just, that's who he is, and now he's being visited by ghosts and stuff and spirits. So, yeah, okay, sure. That I see the trappings there, but I think what we were kind of alluding to earlier is that it's a very different version of that story that for me was more compelling. It, again, going only by the film versions, because he's trying to actually get somewhere. You know, the struggle of The Shining is Jack kind of succumbing to the Overlook, and this is someone fighting against the room, fighting against what it's trying to do to him. Which would be a different story. While he's got a wife and kid, in the context of the story, they're not a part of what's going on in the hotel, and so they're kind of his keys to get out of it more than anything. His struggles to get away from this revolves around them. Whereas in The Shining, it's like, I've succumbed to this, and now I want you guys to succumb to it too, in whatever way that going to happen.
Well, I mean, Mike Enslin and Jack Torrance are two very different characters, because I mean, Jack Torrance already has like a hint of unhinged before he even goes to the Overlook.
Mm-hmm.
like he's abused his son. He's not intentionally, but he's a functioning alcoholic. He's in all these things and lashes out at the people he loves. Mike Enslin has become this type of person because he lost someone that he loves.
Right.
So it's two very different journeys, and I think it doesn't explain it. I've never read the short story that this is based on, but would you guys say that? Do you think he was a brilliant writer, or before he lost his daughter? Because he has that one book that he wrote about his dad because like when he gets that book signed in the beginning, she asks him, "Oh, are you going to write another one like this?" And he says, "Nah, it's a different guy."
That's what it alludes to, is that he's a very capable writer, but he's gone to this commercial thing because he doesn't have the heart to do that other thing anymore, and the vulnerability of it. And we don't get a lot of what his relationship with his dad is, but he probably feels like, because he's lost his kid, that writing about a relationship between a father and a child is outside of his means now. And he doesn't want to be honest. He doesn't want to bleed on the page in that way. He wants to do something that's safe and something that he can be critical of.
Right.
And not have to be a part of. So he's sitting there and he's like, yeah, I write these books about these scary places. What's the scariest place? Well, honestly, I think it's all bullshit, but I'm not going to tell you that because you're the audience who buys my books.
Right.
So,
well, he flat out says, like, he says that in his Q&A that he has at the bookstore.
yeah.
He's like saying there's no such thing as ghosts. I'm saying I've never seen one. And then he's like, where should I go if I want to catch a real ghost? Orlando.
Right.
Like, it's like
Haunted Mansion in Orlando.
Care. He doesn't care.
I first of all, John Cusack is the best person to play this part. Like, is there anybody better at self-narration in a film of his role? Like, you do things like this, Grosse Point Blank, what was the record one? The
Tower Records?
Tower Records. Oh. No, that can't be right. But still, it's like Tower Records is the actual record store.
John Cusack.
Yeah, it's not Empire Records, but
Empire Records, yes.
No, Empire Records is
but
the
that's
teens.
not what it. Yeah, that's not High Fidelity.
High Fidelity. Thank you. That kind of stuff where, again, you get to a point where you're familiar with somebody and you understand how they're working. But if you go back to the Lloyd Dobler days, like the way he just sits and talks and pontificates to the camera, where you just sit there and listen to him, like all of the words that were said by this character sound right coming out of his mouth. Right. He was just totally the right choice.
Lines at any point, it felt like he was organically talking.
Yeah, because he's a writer. He talks like a writer because he actually is himself a writer.
Right.
I think he just nails that.
My favorite actors.
Yeah, mine too.
I did an interview with Tori from Pop Horror,
mm-hmm.
and one of the questions that she asked me was, if you could work with anyone in the industry, who would you want to work with? And I gave her 3 actors. First one was Josh Stewart from the Collector movies.
Yep.
Second was Brendan Fraser, because I fucking love The Mummy.
I love Brendan Fraser. He's so great.
And the third was John Cusack, because he has the ability to act uninterested while at the same time hanging on to every word that you're saying to him.
Yeah.
And you get that he's processing the information, but he can look so uninterested. And I think it's brilliant, because I never see him working anytime I watch a film that he does.
Yeah.
And I think he's so good. He did another Stephen King movie. He did Cell.
Okay.
Which you guys should check out. He did it with Morgan Freeman.
I would definitely check that out.
And they're both great in it. But yeah, I think he gives like he even like in the first 40 minutes is my favorite before he even gets to the room. Like, I love when he goes into the bookstore and he walks down the stairs and the guy's like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm here for the big event." There's like, there's like the awkward silence, and he's like, "Oh, cool." And he goes, "I'm Mike Enslin," and he's like, "Sorry," and he picks up his own picture, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's you. It's a good picture." He's like, "Thanks, man." And then he just goes, and it's like, I think it's my favorite scene in the movie because he knows that he's washed up, but he's milking every second of it.
Well, he knows being on the road and those kind of events, like half of them at least are bullshit. Like
Exactly.
nobody cares crap.
Like even like his agent, played by
Tony Shalhoub,
Tony Shalhoub, is like, he's like talking to a bunch of, he's like, yeah, this, that, and the other thing, whatever. Listen, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta take this call. Okay, hey Mike, read the first few chapters last night. Spooky shit.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't give a fuck, and he's like, great. Hey, did you take care of that thing? Like he knows that his manager's like doing other stuff and doesn't really I don't think value him as a client. But he's like, he wants to be passionate, and that's why he wants to stay in room 1408, because he knows that he can't.
Right. Well, I think he's also not used to being said no to. He's used to people just fawning all over him. Like, please come to our hotel, buy into our bullshit, sell it to other people so that we can get the business. And to hit that wall of like, no, fuck off. We don't want you here.
Right.
That's pretty huge.
Off wall.
Even like in the opening scene, that's like perfectly shown. Like when it literally opens with him staying at that old like hotel that's owned by the couple, and the opening scene just ends with him talking into the tape recorder, and he's like, you know, she says she hasn't slept a wink since acquiring the inn, and I believe her. No, I pity her. Like it's like he knows that these people are just like, man, I don't know what I'm talking about. I love this movie.
So one thing for me is that we've had an abundance of movies of people being haunted, and a lot of them just feel the same. They go through the same kind of tropes. They go through the same kind of jump scares, and they don't go any further. I felt like this one did a lot of stuff. It feels very dense. Like once he gets into it and he realizes the room, there's something bigger there going on, or at least you start to suspect that he's being fucked with her or something. Shit really starts happening fast. It's not a slow, drawn out, like minute scares. Like this is really pushing the effects, the ideas. Like it does do the one of the tropes that I kind of like get hung up on these days is the play the same song over and over again. Although this feels more akin to Groundhog's Day than it does to playing Tiptoe Through the Tulips in the first Insidious film. But it's so many different things. And when he's walking around with a black light and he's looking and he's seeing like I assume blood stains, although it could be other kind of stains in a hotel. But he's seeing like the little flashes of people who died there and everything, and it's building the realism that this happens. Also builds a realism that hotels don't change that fucking top bedspread ever. You should all carry a black light if you travel. You motherfuckers don't want to lay on a hotel bed as is. It will ruin you if you knew what was going on in that thing. But he walks around the room and you're seeing the evidence that people died here. Like it's not fake. There's blood splatters across the paintings and stuff. There's places where you get the idea, like he knows that part's real. But when they start involving things and shit like comes, like he looks in the mirror and he sees somebody behind him and turns around and that person's actually in the room and runs at him and then disappears. Like shit happens. And that's the thing that I think a lot of ghost story movies miss, is that shit just doesn't happen. It's a lot of atmospheric noise and no actual substance. There's substance to this, and I like that.
Feel the need to build up to something.
Yeah.
When there are generations of things that have happened in this room, so there's endless possibilities.
And just the idea that the room is like, well, you know about these 4 suicides in it, but what about the natural deaths? And that there's like 50-something people who died naturally in the room, but the newspapers don't talk about it because it doesn't matter to them. Like, that's a great fucking thing. And the whole hard sell of Samuel Jackson to try to get him out of it is a really good scene. And Samuel Jackson is not utilized in this movie very much, but he's utilized effectively.
Right.
And the same sort of thing is like you see him on the screen and you're like, okay, I know what I'm going to get out of him, but it's a solid performance. You know, he doesn't phone it in at all.
Right. And I mean, aside from like, this is probably the first serious thing I had ever seen him in. Before this, it was Mace Windu and Snakes on a Plane. For me, at least. I mean, I don't know because I didn't see him in a whole lot. But like you said, that scene with the two of them in the office is just, it's effective because you get the urgency. He's like, do not stay in that fucking room.
Yeah, and the
Don't do it.
I walk to that room. I walk in this hallway once a month, and that's it. You know, so I'll see you then.
Yeah, and that's like because he just goes up in the elevator and he's like, this is as far as I go unless it's that time. But it's like even like the natural deaths. He's like, yeah, this one guy drowned in his chicken soup, and you're like, how did he do that? And then there's a scene where the painting with the ship in it, just water just floods through the wall.
Yeah,
and it's like, got it.
Yeah, it doesn't hold back on the room is literally working against him. Right. And the stuff with the like when the operator says that someone's going to come up and check the thermostat thing, you're like, but is somebody going to come up and check the thermostat? And then some guy does, and he's like, yeah, but I'm not fucking walking in there. It's like, see ya, you do it, you dumbass.
It's like, just jiggle that thing and do this, and you're good.
Like it stays 100% feeling authentic in a masterfully crafted work of fiction where the incredible happens. It still feels real in a lot of ways. And his stuff, like probably the most effective scene to me was the first time when he starts to realize that something is fucked up, like legitimately fucked up, either that he's drugged or something else, is when he's waving to the person across at the other building to the window there. And then the person gets up and starts emulating everything he's doing. And then he holds the light up to himself and it's his own face, but a different version of him. I was like, shit, that is well done. Like the whole thing of like moving in conjunction and stuff is like, oh, he's seeing his own reflection. And then you see the light come up, but it's not a reflection. It's another form of who he is or could have been.
Right.
That was so good. Like I was in after that. I was boom, got me. Because it's not a hard effect to do. It's not mind-blowingly like complicated. It just worked.
Right. No, yeah.
And it paints also that at some point the room is controlling not just what's happening to him, but in a way him. It's creating an aspect of him to explain later on, like when they find you dead, the evidence they're going to see is you killing yourself.
Right.
It's not going to be about the room. It's going to be about you.
Is non-existent to the outside world because they're just going to see him hanging from the rafters or something.
And the countdown of the hour on the clock, and then it resetting later on, like just starting all over again.
Yeah.
What a fucking stab in the balls. Like just totally like I made it through the hour. It's like, nope. Just click.
He's like, you'll relive this hour over and over again.
We're just gonna keep doing this to you again and again and again. Now that you know what you're in for, don't you want to just throw yourself out the window? Mm-hmm. Don't you just want to take this Garrett and hang yourself? It's like shit. Yeah.
I like the effect that they did with the ghosts, though, how they look like holographic versions of like 1940s photographs.
Yeah.
Whenever they show up.
And anytime something goes out the window, it kind of hits a static point like it goes off of a TV screen.
Right.
Like this is a well done film. Like I didn't recognize the person who directed it or anything, but it all comes together. Like it's a good solid piece of work that I think I'm glad that you pointed it out to me, because I do remember seeing it before and probably would have never looked at it again, for the fact of like I didn't have a lot to say about it the first time. But it's so solid. You know, this is a kind of movie that I think is an underdog horror movie that needs to have, you know, not be at like the top of everybody's list of my favorite horror movies, but it's like it should be on a shelf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, there, as much as I don't care for the ending that I saw, I don't think it was a bad ending. If you asked me to write a better ending, I couldn't, for a number of reasons, mostly because I don't know how to write, both intellectually and physically.
You guys don't give yourself enough credit.
I'm just fucking. I play the drums, but
You guys are. What'd you say?
I said I play the drums. Leave me out of this. But yeah, no, I think this is a really good movie, and for my childhood love and turning into an adult love of Stephen King, like it's held true. I mean, I definitely want to watch it again, try and like pick up things that I missed before. So
I think definitely give it a chance. Watch the director's cut ending, and then let me know what you think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to hear you guys even if it's not on here, what you guys are like think of it, because it's very different. Because I remember the ending that with him dying in the room is the ending that I saw initially, and then it played on TV like a couple of years later. This is when I was like a preteen, and I was like, that's not the ending. So maybe it's just the effect that that's the ending I saw. But
there can be something to that.
Yeah, no,
but
I
think it's also, you're right that it changes the tone of what it's about, and there's, so yeah, it's a winner ending or a losing ending, and I think they both show loss, but there is the survivor portion of it.
Right.
And I don't think that's a bad ending per se. It's just I feel like, one, we go through the part where he gets out of the room and starts going about with his life again, and then is suddenly dragged back in. He's shown that none of it was real. And so having a second ending where he gets out does complicate things, in that it's like, but am I supposed to buy into it this time?
And that takes up that's like 25 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Is him getting out of the room and then just getting, it's kind of a punch to the nuts.
It really is. Which is why it works so well.
It is. Like, I would have been fine if it's just like they show a little bit, but they redo his entire day from the surfing to picking up mail and everything in between.
And the picking up mail scene is such a great scene, when the guys, like all the people from the hotel and everything, and they just start tearing the whole thing down, and you see the room is encompassing this false world that he's been living in. You just, like, we tear down the walls, and you've been trapped here the entire time. That is so good. But, you know, the most heart-wrenching thing, of course, is when his daughter comes to him physically, and he's holding her, and she just slips away. Like, wow. Just, that is fucking torturous.
And there's a similar moment. I don't know this director very well. Like, I've seen one other film that he's done, and he's done, I guess, a lot of stuff. But did you guys, have you seen the Anthony Hopkins movie, The Right?
No.
He plays a retired exorcist for the church who's training an apprentice, and he becomes possessed by the devil. Cool. And so now it's up to the apprentice, who's new, to get him out of there. And it's a great film. And there's a scene, not exactly, but similar to that, in The Right. And I was like, this is a lot like 1408. And then I looked it up, and it was the same guy.
Okay.
But it's done differently, but it's like tonally, like, this guy has a style. And that moment is so, like, heart-wrenching. I love it.
It was already heart-wrenching enough that she's now dead in his arms, but then the alarm goes off and she just turns into ash and he crushes.
He crumbles.
Oh, man. Because then that loses all the physicality of even having her in that regard. It's just like everything that you love is gone, to the point where you don't even get to touch it or feel it anymore. Like, that is so visceral. in the execution of that moment. And like and that's why I like the ending too, is because even if he gets away, he still gets the visceral feeling of like, but she was actually there. That literally happened.
It doesn't go away.
He's got an evidence of like, this was not false. This is not a dream. This actually happened. And for a moment, for one brief moment, you had your daughter back in your arms again. That's hardcore.
I really wanted the dramatic pause there.
You also wanted the drink that he's drinking through the whole thing, right?
I don't know. Was that whiskey? Was it scotch? I'm not
I felt like it was scotch.
Then no, because I don't like scotch.
Nah.
Scotch tastes like fucking bog water. I don't like peat. Do you want to rate this thing? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony, you're the guest. You would have to lead on this.
Oh man, I want to spend the rest of my life with this movie, guys.
All right.
I also want to give it sensual fucking every now and again.
Well, I mean, you when you're married, you get to fuck once in a while.
That's true.
Really? That's a rule?
Once in a great.
Oh,
okay. It's not.
But does the movie get to like carry my balls around in its purse?
No, you could still be the man in the relationship. That's cool.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna marry this film.
If the purse is like Matt's cheek pockets.
It's like a chipmunk. They're just in my cheek.
I came in thinking that I was gonna, not to the recording of this episode, but to watching the movie again. I came in thinking it was gonna be a sexy time at best. But I'm with Anthony. I love this movie. I think it's one that now I'll look forward to when it shows up on cable in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh yeah, 1408's on. I'm gonna pop that up and rewatch that. You know, it's certainly worth giving a second or third viewing, especially if there's multiple endings. You know, like Clue.
I don't know, man. I was a fuck. I might still be a fuck. I'm a fuck with an option to marry.
Which is not often the case.
No,
is the ending the only issue that you take with the film? Or do you like it like the rest of it, or is it?
I enjoyed the rest of it. I didn't love the rest of it, but I liked it enough to want to watch it again.
Cool.
So
if nothing else, I would rewatch it over and over again for the performance of John Cusack. But I think there's so much there anyways that is also really good. It elevates it for me. But Matt,
would you fuck the film and wait till the morning?
I would fuck it and make it breakfast. How's that?
Would you make it breakfast the next morning?
Or sandwich and cat fare. I mean, can't you just double down and get Uber Eats? Like, hey, come pick up this slut and bring her some fucking bagel sandwiches. Like that's the way to do it today.
Bring by McDonald's and bring this piece of trim in my bed, a burrito.
That's what we're missing. I feel like that's the final call for Uber is
pick up this slut.
I just get her a Denny's Grand Slam so she knows what this meant. I really love the inherent sexism of the final moments of the show. It's always my favorite part.
I guess. Anthony, where can people find you on the internet if they so choose to do so? And all of your 847 movies.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Don't use Twitter, but I have it. It's there. I don't expect any updates on it. And I have an IMDb, which if I'm working on something or it's in development, that's the first place it'll go. Actually, my Facebook page is probably better because that's usually where announcements are made and stuff. So I'd say my Facebook page, my professional artist page.
And so, I mean, you mentioned that Abstraction's been released. Now, we still got to get together and talk about that at some point. But where would you like people to go find that?
So it's available on Vimeo on Demand through Angerman Distribution. So if you go to Vimeo on Demand and just click in Angerman Distribution, it's one of the first titles. You can rent it there. Or if you go to, let me see, 1 second. I think it's the Concept Media LLC.com. You can pre-order a copy of the Blu-ray in time for Halloween, and you can pick up a copy there.
Nice.
Do it.
So
Do it.
that's what I'm excited about. I'm just excited to like put it on the shelf next to like Ryan Reynolds' Proposal and just see how neat it looks.
Are you talking about the Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah,
I love that fucking movie.
me too.
Shit, that is a goddamn Mary for me as well. Even the silly ass scene of her and Betty White dancing around in the woods. Like, I don't give a shit. I know that was added on later on. That was tacked on for comedy's sake, but fuck it. I love it. I was watching, just briefly, I was watching Miss Congeniality today. I'm like, God damn, Sandra Bullock is so good.
She is.
So goddamn good.
We haven't seen her in anything in a while. I haven't.
Yeah, but she's done some great stuff.
But yeah, just put it on the shelf. I probably won't even. I mean, the last thing I want to do is watch it because I've spent the last year editing it and shooting it. But I just want to see it on the shelf. It's always nice to see like a home release of a DVD or a Blu-ray of a film that you made just on the shelf.
It's a physicality. There's a lot of people who write that, you know, you think publishing ebooks, you probably get a broader audience. You probably get more people finding your stuff because of the fact that, you know, it's in an Amazon store that everybody can just buy in the middle of the night.
Right.
But there's that sense of like, yeah, but I wrote a book. I want it on a shelf. You know, I want to smell the paper. I want to feel the cover. Right. I want all that stuff. I totally get the enhanced tactility of that. Even if I find reading something on a Kindle more comfortable in that moment, I still, there's like the stuff that I love the most I want to have up on a shelf.
I
like Matt's dong.
I just I really caught me off guard. I really like digital music. Like I don't like having CDs anymore because it's clutter, but I still frame every CD that I release and hang it on my wall.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's an accomplishment. It's something that you can see. It's not, the internet could crash and burn tomorrow. The internet could completely go away, but I have that Blu-ray on the shelf.
That is why I've collected every toenail that I've ever cut off.
That's right.
Weird.
Of Corey, any person that I've ever met.
Where can people find you on the internet? We need to get away from this toenail conversation.
Man, I'm here.
Okay.
And
what do you want to push this week?
Well, I did mention Brokeback Mountain. So Phil Root, David Luzader, really great episode of the show. I think it's their 101st episode, so it shows that they've been at this for a while. They're changing up the format a little bit. It started out as a show about the HBO series Westworld, and they tried to go in a sort of sci-fi territory when they ran out of Westworld episodes. Now they're breaking away from that a little bit. So they because you have to. You just get to a point where the genre can't keep up, but they still bring really great, intelligent conversation to the forefront, and the discussion about the films really stands out. It's one of my favorite movie review podcasts around that, and moving around. So yeah.
Sweet. You can find me on Twitter. Nope. Deactivated my Twitter when I found out Scott Stapp blocked me. Instagram, Matt the Lifeguard. Untapped too. Corey, what are we watching next week? We were going to watch it this week, then we had to swap Anthony for this week.
Well, first of all, you're holding back. Don't be afraid to long dick it, Matt. You can also find Matt on the Monster Madness podcast, which is really, really fun. Already had two people that I dearly love on it, and now I've fallen deeply in love with a third with Daniel. So it's nice to see Matt treating films with respect and sobriety, that I don't know that he's ever brought to the game here.
So the thing is we've been doing this for over 4 years. So I gradually
Yes.
got drunker and drunker and drunker, and that is still a new show. So I have to treat it a little better. Plus, it's on Acast.
The Monster Madness is the new one. It's not
Yes.
the Fast and the Furious one.
No, Cast and the Furious still exists. Matt's traveling a lot. Like I think he's in Iceland for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Traveling Matt.
So that is like a once a month kind of thing. Monster Madness is a weekly, seasonal type deal.
And what type of content's on that one?
Monster movies. So like the first season is classics, and then their modern counterparts. So Erica is the mastermind behind the whole thing. So everything is laid out by seasons. So every season will kind of have a theme. So it's
Have
very.
you guys seen Creature from the Black Lagoon yet?
We did.
You did? I'll have to watch it. That's my favorite.
Yeah. So the I can tell you maybe when it's coming out. I don't even know. They come out Mondays.
Okay.
Yeah. So far, we've had the releases of Dracula,
Wolfman,
Frankenstein, and Wolfman. Yeah.
Um,
And because it's Erica, you know that there is a deeper level of thought process into the films and everything, because she's a researcher. She knows this stuff really well, and I like the little quizzes that she does with you guys.
Yes. So I know normally she teases episodes, but if you actually listen to this and listen to that show, you'll get a little sneak peek. The Mummy 1932 comes out tomorrow. If you're actually listening to the day that I release the audio, Creature from the Black Lagoon comes out next Monday, the 28th.
Cool.
And then we will be recording this week, which we don't do live. We're recording the Thanksgiving episode, which is Thanksgiving, with special guest my wife.
Nice.
Which is that the one with the turkey?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. We haven't watched it yet, but
so Alyssa again shows up for other people, never for me.
9 years of me podcasting, my wife is finally coming onto a show.
So you finally get a voice.
What's that?
Are you going to behave?
Yeah,
No.
I'll probably behave a little more than normal, but we've been married for almost 8 years now, so she totally knows it. And this isn't like a new marriage. Like we've
gotcha.
Yeah, you think Matt's been phoning it in on the fucking show, and the marriage has got to be even worse.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
He doesn't even close the bathroom door when he wipes his ass anymore. He's just like, whatever.
I only close the bathroom door when I'm pooping.
Yeah, and even then, he like brings her in every once in a while. I have her proofread it.
No, that's one of the few things that I will not allow is if I'm shitting, the door is closed. That is like, that's where I draw the line. I don't want to be looked at when I'm pooping.
Sometimes like she's in the shower and you gotta go.
We have 4 bathrooms in our house. I'll go to a different one.
That's nice.
yeah.
Are you wealthy?
I live in Wisconsin. It's not expensive to live here.
Bathrooms.
Yeah, it's not expensive.
Hot dog.
What's that?
Hot dog.
2 of them are filled up with chickens.
Stay outside.
Oh man.
All right. Corey, what are we watching next week?
We are watching Sorority Girls at the Slime Ball Bowl-O-Rama.
Sorority Girls at the Slime Ball Bowl-O-Rama. I was typing that out. I'm excited because I used to bowl a lot.
You will be impressed with how much this has nothing to do with bowling. I think there's probably like one scene where it actually hinges on the fact that it's a bowling alley, and other than that, it's 1988 schlock B movie fare, but it has several screen cleans, including, I think, in my opinion, one of the greatest, which is Linnea Quigley, certainly who I knew the most from horror movies and stuff growing up, and it was made prominent on USA's Up All Night with Rhonda Shear. I'm amazed I pulled that one off. Yeah, that's what you get for sitting on your balls for 2 hours. So it's one of those things that was late night fare. Most people probably have not seen it with the boobs. There's a lot of boobs and some downstairs in this. So just for that alone, it harkens back to the beginning of the podcast where we used to let you know if there was nudity. But overall, it was between this and Killer Clowns, and I've been wanting an excuse to watch this movie because I don't think I ever had really seen it all the way through. But it is such a perfect named film that I wanted to get it on the show.
What is it? Sorority girls at what?
Sorority babes in the slime ball Bolorama.
It rolls right off the tongue. I know.
I'll have to check it out. When was it? Is it an 80s film?
1988.
Wow. Okay.
It was the same year as Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which we were talking about doing. And I just kind of nudged Matt towards this because I figured Killer Clowns is something that somebody else will bring up to watch at some point.
Yep.
Right. Have you guys seen Killer Clowns?
No.
Who said no?
Both of us.
Both of you have never seen it?
Neither of us have seen Killer Clowns. I've had a copy in my house for probably 5 years.
Yeah, you got to
never actually seen
when
the
we
film.
started doing the show, we both kind of realized like eventually someone's going to pick all these movies, so we stopped watching a lot of the classics.
Oh, I'm going to request that right now. That needs to be that needs to be the week after next. I need, especially if you guys have never seen it, I need to see you guys talk about it.
Well, okay, so we'll save Killer Clowns for your next visit, and we will discuss.
Oh, I don't have to be. I just want to see you guys talk about it.
Okay, I mean, I guess we could do that then.
We can definitely put it in the queue, but if we can find somebody who also has a love of the movie or has never seen it and wants to come on and do it with us, I think we should. Because I feel bad stealing a guest's ability to say, I got to do the Killer Clowns movie on Podcast of Terror.
I'll text a couple of our normals and see if they want to, if that's a movie that they love. I actually have someone specific in mind right now. But my bladder is very full, which means this episode needs to end. So,
he's going to pee in 3 of the 4 bathrooms.
I can't find my fucking mouse cursor. So yeah, that's going to do it for another episode of Podcast of Terror. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Stay scary, everybody.